Hello everybody, welcome back to The Contrarian. For those of you who have been watching my channel for at least the last several months, you would know that I have been fairly critical of cryptocurrencies and especially all of the speculation and hype that has been surrounding these massive run-ups in cryptocurrencies that we have seen in the last year to 1.5 years. So in this video, I really want to clarify my stance on cryptocurrencies and what my short-term forecast is for crypto, what my long-term forecast is for crypto, as well as why I would consider purchasing some cryptocurrency in the future, though not right now. So to clarify, my short-term stance for the cryptocurrency market is I do expect it to roughly continue to correlate with the stock market as long as the stock market continues to do well, as long as the Fed is able to keep the optimism in the equity markets that is there, as well as all of the speculation and hype that is currently in basically everything at this point. It's basically an everything bubble, and that definitely does include crypto. So I do expect cryptocurrencies, broadly speaking, to not crash completely yet, but also to roughly correlate with stocks. So if stocks continue to do well for the next few months, I would expect that cryptos, even though they have crashed some recently, I would say that they would probably, roughly correlate with stocks, so they would probably stay about where they are right now, but they might also experience a little upside in the near-term future, just depending on how much hype can return. However, once the equity bubble, this everything bubble, once it does begin unwinding and deleveraging, I do expect cryptocurrencies to be some of the hardest hit, as well as basically anything that has this level of hype in it. So I would say that meme stocks, or you could say Tesla, or any of these stocks that have just had massive levels of speculation and leverage behind the run-ups that have occurred, I would put those all roughly in the same basket of most potential downside. You could also put junk bonds in there as well because of the massive speculation and overvaluation that is present with that particular part of the bond market as well. So short term, I expect crypto to roughly correlate with the stock market, and more importantly, roughly to correlate with the most speculative part of the stock market and equity markets in general. So it'll probably stay about as stable as the stock market does, but when the stock market does begin to experience downside, which I do expect to happen roughly the end of this year, which is 2021, you can look back at my a video I made roughly 6 weeks ago that was basically my forecast for when I do expect, for when and why I do expect this massive deleveraging event to occur. Obviously, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to, see how much leverage, how much overvaluation there is in the equity markets right now. It also doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that, the economy and the equity markets do not reflect one another right now. So basically, common sense would suggest that one has to revert to the other, which right now would mean that either we experience an economic boom where the economy rapidly picks up pace, you see massive numbers of people going back to work, and GDP exploding, which is the exact opposite of what we're beginning to see. We're beginning to see labor shortages and GDP actually falling from projections that have been put out. So common sense right now would suggest that rather than the economy catching up with the massive overvaluation out there, rather this overvaluation needs to come down dramatically in order to at least begin to mimic what the economy is. And I roughly do expect this event to happen around the end of this year, simply with inflation heating up as much as it already is and likely exceeding expectations, just with all of the free money that has been put into the system and likely that will be added to the system as the Fed attempts to keep this bubble going a little longer. I just do expect that to eventually force them to taper or tighten, and whichever one they do end up doing, that will inevitably crash equities as well. And also, this is not talking about any of the potential black swan events that could happen. regarding China and Taiwan or anything else that is potential out there to go wrong very quickly. So I do expect this massive deleveraging event to happen within the next few months, and I do expect for crypto to be hurt, probably some of the hardest hit assets out there during this deleveraging crash as people seek a safe haven, which, as history suggests, will be the dollar. So longer term, I do expect crypto to bottom out roughly when equities do, and I would actually consider buying quality crypto technology when that does occur. And my reason behind this is I do think that there are at least a few viable technologies out there in terms of cryptocurrencies being used for a means of exchange. I don't think that Bitcoin is one of them, simply being with a lot of the statistics behind the energy usage of Bitcoin and all the speculation that has been in it up until recently. So I don't expect from Bitcoin to be that tempting for me to buy into, but looking at something more like Cardano or some other maybe even newer technology that comes out at that point, I could see that as being roughly the equivalent to buying a .com company that has fairly decent fundamentals right after the .com crash. So I would actually consider buying some crypto-related technology when that does occur and when all of the speculation and hype that is currently there does leave it. And basically that would be the perfect environment in which you could purchase an actually sound fundamental technology behind the product. So I would actually consider buying it in that instance. I just would not right now with all of the current level of speculation and hype that is currently there. So all of this being said, this is my forecast for the crypto markets. Just regarding how volatile they have been recently, I would just say that that is probably largely due to a lot of the kind of fright that the market has been in with the last few days of potential things that have gone wrong, or that the market has seen as potential bad indications. But I ultimately think that crypto will probably have much better buying opportunities at the bottom rather than right now. So all this being said, I'm not trying to provide financial advice in any way. And if you guys like this kind of content, just consider subscribing, and I hope to see you again at some point.